Hey, Garland Vance here with Advance Leadership. And one of the challenges of this quarantine is that we have replaced one kind of stress for a very different kind of stress. See, the stress that you probably experienced before the quarantine was a stress of overcommitment. It was a stress that comes from having so many commitments and projects at work, and at home, having so many commitments with your kids, with your church, with your life, that what you experienced was what I refer to as busyness, which is an overcommitment to too many good commitments. So that's the kind of stress that you experienced before the quarantine. But now, as a society, it feels like we're experiencing a different kind of stress. It's a stress from not so much from having so many commitments, but from having so many interruptions. It's really challenging right now because every time you get started on something, there's an interruption, whether it's a kid who needs something from you, or whether it's the news telling you that there's something that you need to do to help prevent coronavirus, or whether it's an email from work. There is this constant barrage of interruptions. And those interruptions can create a lot of stress because they force us to do what's called context switching, in which we turn our focus very quickly from one thing to another thing. And then eventually we have to go back to that first thing. That context switching can really take a significant toll on your mind and also on your body as you release adrenaline and cortisol due to all of the stress. I heard one person today describe it as context switching is like driving down the road at 70 miles an hour and then all of a sudden having a stoplight pop up and you've got to slam on your brakes and come to a stop, take a right turn, and then go back to where you originally started and try to get back up to speed again. This is taking a tremendous toll on people that I've heard from, where this constant context switching is just adding so much stress, and we're beating ourselves up a lot of times because we're not getting as much done as we want to get done. So this week I'm focusing on this question of what are some really practical ways that you can reduce stress during this time. On the first day, I talked about understanding the stress cycle and forcing your body to use the parasympathetic nervous system so that you can reduce your adrenaline, your cortisol, and your stress. And then yesterday, I gave some more insight into using a tool called a could, should, must list, in which you list out the things you could do today, the things that you should do today, and then the 3 or 4, maybe 5 things that you must do today. Well, today I want to give you another way to reduce stress during this time, and it's a tool called recreation. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I had recreation time every day. But for some reason, as I grew into adulthood, and you probably did this too, you stopped focusing and taking time for recreation. So what is recreation? Recreation is any activity that you enjoy and you do it for the sheer enjoyment of the activity. That's any activity that you do for the sheer enjoyment of the activity. There are a lot of people who think that recreation is something that only kids should do. But the reality is recreation is one of the best ways to beat stress out there. And you can build little pockets of recreation into your life every single day. So here's what you do. Identify maybe 10 minutes every day. It could be in the middle of the day. It could be at the end of the day. It could be that you identify 2 or 3 smaller pockets throughout the day. But just identify some times throughout the day when you can build time to do something that you enjoy doing for the sheer sake of doing it. So for me, I recently got a drone. Like, this is a cheap little $40 drone, but I was given this And I have fallen in love with just going outside and flying the drone around. Listen, I'm terrible at it. I am not a good drone maneuverer. I have gotten it stuck in trees multiple times. But just 10 minutes of flying a drone can create so much enjoyment that it actually gives me more energy and it reduces my stress. So get that. It increases my energy and it reduces my stress, and it only takes 5 or 10 minutes. So what about you? What are some ways that you can begin to reduce your stress and increase your enjoyment by participating in recreational activities, activities that you enjoy doing for the sheer sake of doing them? Maybe it's reading a book or listening to a book. Maybe it's going outside and just going on a stroll around your neighborhood. Maybe it's sitting with your spouse or your partner at the end of the day and just sipping on a glass of wine and talking about what you're grateful for. Maybe it's preparing a meal and you just enjoy doing that, or going on a run, or watching a movie, or your favorite Netflix show. Maybe it's just flipping through Amazon and seeing, what Amazon thinks you would enjoy doing. There are a million different ways that you can enjoy recreational activities right here in the midst of a quarantine. It's an activity that you enjoy for the sheer sake of doing it. And if you'll begin to practice little pockets of recreation every single day, what you're going to find is your enjoyment of life is going to go up and your stress is going to go down. So that's your call to action right now. Identify 1 or 2 recreational activities that you could do in the next 24 hours and then block out 10 minutes to do those in that time. I'll see you tomorrow for the 4th way that you can reduce stress during this quarantine.